Welcome to the EpicTV Surf Report. This is the Blame It on Rio edition, take 1 in a 2-part series on the Billabong Rio Pro. If you've been following along, you already know that round 1 was about finding diamonds in the rough. We already covered all the round 1 action in a previous show. Let's just say it was second nature though for the top seeds like Kelly, Adriano, Jordy, Mick, and a few others to go straight from round 1 to round 3. After that, it was lay day after lay day. It seemed like a century. Well, it was long enough for the swell of a century to happen anyway. One lucky Brazilian, Ricardo dos Santos, even had time to make it from Rio to Tahiti and back again in time for round 2. Talk about passion for a sport. As for round 2 action, well, it sucked, except for Josh Kerr's air. Thanks for that, Josh. As former Brazilian pro turned journalist Julio Adler reminded us in one of his reports for SwellNet, audience equals market. Sure, it's in shitty waves, but hey, it's an emerging country. Or an emerging market. Either way, you understand. Unfortunately, it was raining too, so there wasn't much audience to speak of on the beach either. The Twittosphere, though, was on fire. Pro photog Jeff Flint tried to keep a positive outlook on things. To Kersey, he wrote, "The waves are hard to watch, but your surfing made it worth it. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade." The ASP tweet writer, whoever writes tweets for the ASP, tried to keep a happy face on too. Loving these conditions, Josh Kerr posts a 977 for this full air rotation, hashtag Billabong Rio Pro. To which one of my favorite Englishmen, Sharpie, answered, "Onshore is the new offshore is going to be put to the test today." And well, Sharpie and everyone else out there who is watching, you know as well as I do, it failed the test miserably. Not only was the surf crap, but apparently so was the live streaming. Don't ask me, I wasn't watching at that point. But El Cartel from France wrote in, "Note, if you have issues with the YouTube live stream, please refresh your page." Well, he says, I refreshed many times, but the waves still suck. Kelly Slater, being the true champion that he is, was as diplomatic as ever. I'd be lying if I said we're not bummed on the surf and what we're still missing in Tahiti this week. While Matty Wilco politely told it like it is. With all due respect, Rio is the worst wave on tour. And not Dane Reynolds summed it all up brilliantly. I'm going to live tweet all the exciting things happening at the Billabong Pro Rio. Check back for an update in about 14 days. After a very upbeat post-heat interview between GT and CJ Hobgood, even I got in on the action. Yeah, Hobgoods, even on the crappiest day in Rio, being a pro surfer is still way better than sitting in a cubicle at an office job. To which my fellow webcast commentator, Lee Bartlett, answered, "At EpicTV Surf and the Hobgoods, what if your work cubicle is in Amsterdam and you get paid to have sex?" Good question, Lee. On the Billabong Rio Pro website, under the highlight clips from round 2, Mac Max asks, "Why do we have to watch the world's best surfers attempt to surf this slop?" To which Rio de Janeiro local, Enrique Amorim Leal, answers, "The World Tour is about surfing in all conditions and to give opportunity to people around the world to watch them surfing. And despite of that, you need local sponsors investing huge amounts of money to award the surfers. Or would you prefer to have the entire World Tour decided in Hawaii in a month? Rio is not perfect, but surfing is not about surfing perfect conditions all the time. It's about having fun too. If you don't understand that, you aren't a real surf dude." Well, Enrique, I'm not quite sure that we agree, but everyone has a right to their opinion. 24 hours later at Barra da Tijuca, there were some acceptable barrels and ramp sections for rounds 3, 4, and 5, worthy of any above average beach break on a decent day. Lee Bartlett was back on Twitter. "Rio is on in improving conditions. Let's face it, if it went flat, that would be an improvement on yesterday. Hashtag her name is Rio." Performances were generally on par for the course, except for Kelly Slater, who surfed like the king he is, Superman, and God all rolled into one. Surfline tweeted, "I hadn't surfed in a week? That's unfair, Kelly. you can't get 3 9s in a heat after not surfing for a week. Speaking of Kelly's 3 9s, his best wave was a 997. Or was it? Surfer Magazine tweets, technical glitches going on with judging. Turns out Slater's first 997 might actually be a perfect 10. To which Surfline responded, well, they messed up on the first wave and Kelly Slater got a perfect 10 and just bagged a 9.6 for a heat total of 19.6. After scratching their heads and having to think about it, the judging panel or the computer operator or whoever decides on these things finally figured out that the 997 wasn't a 10 and Kelly's final heat total was 997 plus 9.6. As for the no loser round 4, well, as usual, there were no losers, so it's not really worth talking about now, is it? On to round 5. Kelly said, it was terrible out there. I was adamant about not wanting to surf. To which webcast commentator Surfer Joe Turpel answered, always great to hear from Kelly. And on hearing Joe describe one of Kelly's tubes as super, super deep, Lee Bartlett came back with, super duper deep? Who let Ned Flanders in the booth? Duh! And of course, since the ASP drug testing policy has been the running joke of journalists and internet commentators alike, it wasn't long before someone just had to drag the issue screaming and kicking out into the open. And that man was Peter Pan, the surfy surfer. And this is what he had to say. Hey ASP, after a week of lay days in Rio, I fucking dare you to do some drug testing. Where are those results, guys? And on that happy note, I leave you with a quick glimpse of Laura Enever's butt. Alana's butt was getting a bit tired. Check back in shortly for all the action, drama, and controversy from the final day of the Billabong Rio Pro on the next edition of the EpicTV Surf Report. Until then, don't forget to get wet.